Alright, so we're working on the Talon GSX150R2, and so we got it up right now. One of the problems we had was that the seat belts are really hard to rotate and turn. This one's kind of a challenge to put down, but I thought this was actually bent backwards, and it is if that's the way you want to put it. But realistically, this is the correct way it should go, and that once it gets on there, it'll get draped over this seat here, and it should be pointing up. So this one here looks like it's correct, but it's not. So I want this bend, so it's really hard to see it, but the bend is going that way. But really the bend should be going this way because it's going to be draped forward, not backwards. So you can see the bend here is bent forward on both of these. And so you can kind of see where all this rust is here and here. These belts were facing down for the last 3 years or whatnot and not moving. So also another thing that I did do, because I didn't quite understand what was going on, there's a lot of things on this build that are just not 100%. There's one or two loose screws, which I haven't touched yet. But anyways, the point of this video is to show you the proper way to put the seatbelts, and now they move freely with no issues. And so I'll go ahead and do that to the other side. It's really hard to see from this angle, but maybe you can see it. There's a little washer here that goes on there, and just FYI, it's a 14 and a 19 metric wrenches. So the 19 goes on the back side here, and the 14 will go on this side. And technically you're supposed to turn the nut, not the bolt, but let's see if you can see this. So, alright, let me just try to loosen this. Counterclockwise, right? Always counterclockwise for loosening. So everybody likes lefty loosey, right tighty. This is so freaking loose. So loose. So I'm technically moving the 14 millimeter, which I said is not correct. I want to move the nut always. I don't really understand the logic behind it, but that's what my dad always told me. There's no freaking room to put your hand back in here. You're just so tight. Listen to NPR there. I always like listening to NPR. So this is the washer that I thought I'd show you. It's got a couple of washers. So you have your bolt, your nut, which is universal, does not matter which side goes in, and as well as the lock washer, does not matter what side goes in. If I flip it, you'll see that this side here with that tooth sticking out will still be, oh, well, that's not right. Let me see that again. Huh. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I just have to rotate it. Confusing myself here. But this washer here, so in other words, this is universal. It doesn't matter which side you put forward. The nut is universal. It doesn't matter what side you put in. Obviously, this is one way. But this washer here is tapered. So it's flat on this side, and it's got a little tapering on this side. But that tapering is designed to allow some of the seatbelt to actually angle back a little bit and give it a little bit of room to work. This flat side doesn't matter. It's going to go against the flat surface anyway, so this flat side doesn't matter. One thing that I do want to do is make sure that my seatbelt's on correctly. So really, let me take both of them off. So my physics teacher always told me, are you holding parts or are you loosening nuts and bolts? You can't do both. So I always try to never have anything in my hand while I'm doing something else. I do have some magnet plates. Every time I take something off, I put it on the magnet plate. And I'll show you my magnet plates here in a second. Because I just don't want to lose the nuts and bolts. It's too much trouble. You put them down, forget where they have to put them. So if you have a magnet plate, obviously it's a lot easier. So this is the way the seatbelt will end up getting draped over this thing. So I want it to be, let me see, like this. So I'm looking at that seatbelt, and it's not twisted. Okay, no, it's not twisted. All right, good. So, oh, that's correct, you see? So it's actually backwards. Once this goes over the chest, it's going to be digging into the chest because it's going to end up coming over now. So I have this backwards. That's why it doesn't look right. So once this goes on, this is away from the chest, and this is the part that'll be touching in the chest. And now you can see that the bend is forward. So the bend is actually like this, where before it was like this, and it wasn't allowing a lot of movement. So now I don't have these on the magnet wall plates, but I do have 2 magnet plates here. These happen to be the Harbor Freight version, and I got them on sale for like $2.99. I've bought them before at regular price, but I realized they don't really have a significant magnetism to them that they're worth buying at the more expensive price. They're prettier, but they still do the same darn thing. So, in my opinion, not worth spending the extra to do that. So, the bolt goes in, spider body there. The bolt goes in, the washer will go in with the tapered sides. You see that? I just dropped that. That's why I told you, you either put it in bolts or you're holding nuts and washers and parts. If not, you'll just end up dropping it. So let's put our bolt in. We'll put our spacer, which is more of a spacer than a washer. And now they're ready. So now I just have nuts and bolts. I'm sorry, nuts and lock washers. That's what I end up having. So let's go and put these in the holes. I'll get rid of this spider web. I'm sure there's nothing in there now. Oh gosh, darn it. So again, why you don't hold stuff in your hands, because trying to hold it and move it and do this and that, and it's cumbersome. Adds an unnecessary challenge. Let me just tuck that in there. Put these in here. Here. So now we got our backings in. Let's go and get our lock washers in. I'm just gonna get a pair in my hand and hope that I don't push it out. So if I hold them in my hand like this, I can, oh gosh, the only problem is there's no room to work back here. I'm fighting all these tubes and pieces, and I'm doing it blindly because, there we go, the angle is hard to see. In fact, I actually happen to have the camera in the right position. I didn't mean to do that, but luckily it worked out. See, I can't, I mean, it's a huge nut and bolt. It shouldn't take this much effort to do, but so this plastic tube here, it's really hard to get your hand in there. I'm 5'3", 155 pounds, so I got the small hands already, but still, it's a challenge. So I'm pushing the bolt here with this finger here, and here we go. Yeehaw. So alright, so they're on. Now I just need to tighten them, and now they're correct, and this thing will move freely. I don't have to do anything anymore. Everybody squeezed them in, and the rest of them started walking down the road, and we went to my friend's house. Alright, that's it. I'm going to tighten it up, and we'll be good to go. Now this thing can sit up here. I live on the other side of the island. My wife will help you out. Tell my wife hello. I'm like, boom. I've tried running down Front Street to the harbor, and now seatbelts are ready to be set up. Ooh, a wasp. I'm not sure about wasps. I don't really understand. Now, some people say they're good. Some people say they're not. But I feel like they're going to go and eat up all the bees around this time. I heard because it's so hot. They'll go eat up bees because it's just an easy picking. So, sorry if offended for killing that wasp. I've only been poked twice, stung twice by a wasp, and it hurt for a day or so, but it wasn't really that significant. So I do feel guilty every time I kill a wasp, but I feel like the bees or whatnot are more significant than the wasps. So, sorry guys, sorry people for doing that. Let me go and tighten this up now. The only way to escape was to go down to the water's edge, and they got trapped. And I like listening to NPR. I get tired of listening to music just because my dad used to call it bubblegum music, and I didn't quite understand it when I was a kid. Now I do. It's like, I realize it's not worth listening to music. Just same crap over and over and over. And it's some child telling a story of their experiences in the last, let's say they're 17 years old. How long have they lived, right? To give you a story of whatnot. Alright, so whatever. It's one of the reasons I don't listen to music every day. Am I opposed to it? No. Do I like listening to it? Yeah. Do I like dancing to it? Yes, but I just prefer to listen to NPR. And eventually NPR will start repeating itself, and I'll put some music on. Generally some Daddy Yankee or Bad Bunny, something to that effect. I've never been too big into the country music myself. Mostly because I wasn't exposed to it as a child, and when I went off to the military, my roommate always listened to country music, and so it was kind of a culture shock for me. But anyways, the next thing here, somebody installed these wires here to bring up these cables for a car battery, but we shouldn't need that carburetor battery anymore. I was forced to adjust the carburetor to rev a little bit higher, to turn on a little easier, because if not, you'll have to step on the gas pedal and do this little number here where you use vroom, vroom, or if you know what you're doing, you step on the pedal just a little bit. You can even see that the throttle's barely moving if it's a hard start. But because my daughter's going to be driving this thing at 12 years old or whatnot, I don't want her to have a hard time starting this thing. I've already cleaned the heck out of it, and you can see that the fuel filter is nice and clean. I like the loops in there because there's fluid in there, and so as the carburetor sucks, it's not going to suck air. If this was a straight line, all the fluid would go to the bottom and it would start sucking air. But these loops here trap fluid right there as it levels out, right? Because all fluids level out. Well, in general, they'll level out. So with this loop here, it'll ensure that I always have fuel in the line, and when it's ready to start, it's going to start right up. Anytime you leave fuel in your fuel catch of your carburetor, which is this little bowl here. Yeah, there we go. So, as far as this bowl, it's got the little spot right there. That thing will be full of fluid, gasoline, and that gasoline, all the debris and corrosion will build up in there and cause problems. So I try to run the engine until the battery dies. And let's see if I did that. You see, I didn't do it the last time, actually. I said till the battery dies, but I meant till the fuel ends. So this peacock is open. I don't like to do that, because what it'll also do is allow fluid to leak into your carburetor. If the seat's not seating properly, it's dirty or has some debris, it'll continue to leak into the carburetor. Eventually you'll have an empty gas tank, and you'll have a crank chamber, they call it a crank chamber, full of gasoline in your oil. So we're at an angle. You can see the fluid level on that filter. See how unlevel we are? Good 35 degrees or so off the ground. But I will smell the oil, and I hope that's not gas in there. This oil is fresh. I just replaced it. Can't really tell. There we go. Look at that. So I don't think it smells like gas. But like I said, I do try to turn off the stopcock every time. And I'll make a video of stuff to do before and after to make it easier to work this thing. One thing that I'm having a hard time with is the brakes. So right now, you can see that it's spinning pretty good. Well, I'm sorry, it's not spinning very well. It's not touching the ground on that side. You would hear the rocks.
Weren't able to make it out in time.
But the brakes are tight, and the reason I have it tight is so that whenever the parking brake is put in, the parking brake affects the rear. Yeah, the idea is we should not be able to turn these tires. And so one problem that I'm having is that when it kicks into reverse, it's high torque, it's so dang strong that it just peels out. Look, there's a bee right there, you see? That was a potential, dietary supplement for the wasp. So there's bees around here somewhere. But that could have been the wasp next meal. There's a field across the street. The reason I'm walking over here is because you can see where I had the tracks for the go-kart. You can see all the nodules of the go-kart there. But I happen to put it in reverse somewhere around right here. And it just digs in and starts spinning out. And it's kind of scary, actually. I was out in this area over here, and I got a little close to the darn RVs there, and I couldn't stop the darn thing. So I hope I don't burn out that brake pad by setting up that tight, but I just cannot get the parking brake. Maybe I'll look at it, and maybe there's another adjustment on the parking brake itself that I'm not working with. So there actually is. There's an adjustment here for the parking brake, and there's another adjustment. There's another adjustment. Okay, this here is for reverse. But okay, here we go. This is the adjustment for the parking brake. That right there. It's the adjustment for the parking brake. And actually, this thing is all the way up. So I need to pull it out so that when I pull the parking brake, it actually engages the parking brake. So I'll adjust it. So many little things on this vehicle that are not set properly, so I'll work on it. What I'll need to do right now is I'm going to stop the video. I'm just going to put a couple of drops of oil on there, and as I just do stuff, the oil will eventually penetrate the rust, and it'll make it a lot easier to screw on, unscrew and whatnot. And I can loosen the brake on this because the brake's not engaged right now. Oh, I apologize, the brake is engaged. That's why I checked. But you see how it's very hard. It shouldn't be that hard to spin. It should spin a lot easier. So I just have the brake pad adjusted too tight. I need to adjust the brake handle. So nothing can really go here because the wheels are constantly bouncing up and down, and they're going to hit the bottom of this. This neat's got a little bracket for what's it called, the license plate. But that's really it. Anyways, if you have any questions, please let me know. You can always email me at omarccrn@gmail.com or just text message me at 682-364-0914. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.